As summer comes to a close, so too does festival season. Before the autumnal equinox, however, a few last gasps of the concentrated warmth of the punk scene remain. This month in punk rock history, we take a look at the annual Futurama festivals held every September from 1979 to 1983 to celebrate the forward motion of punk, post-punk, and goth. But first I want to take a second and offer a quick shout out to my host, Sweet Jimmy Network. Check out previous editions of This Month in Punk Rock History, as well as 60-second reviews and an all-new Tales from the Thrift coming soon. Let's start with what is post-punk. Well, without getting into technicalities like time signatures and instrumentation and crap like that, let's just say this. When the first wave of punk peaked in 1977, the undercurrent for the next wave of alternative music was, logically, post-punk. And as punk begat post-punk, and post-punk begat goth, and goth begat synth-pop. This is the rough timeline I'm using, and feel free to pick a fight with me in the comments section below. So, as I said, the post-punk scene emerged immediately after punk, but before goth and the Futurama festivals, which began in 1979 and ran consecutively until 1983, were among the first to celebrate the concentration of the darker tones of the underground. The event was named after the New York City World's Fair exhibit from 1939, which featured a fully functional 7-foot-tall robot. The World's Fair event celebrated the exciting possibilities of the future, as did the Futurama festivals. The first Futurama was headlined by former Sex Pistol John Lydon's Public Image Limited the first night. Lydon remembers a lack of security as National Front members in full Nazi regalia handed out literature outside the venue. Space rock pioneers Hawkwind headlined the second night. What is space rock, you may ask? Well, it's basically prog rock, only a little cooler, I guess. Also featured over the two-night event were Joy Division, who NME called unquestionably the real stars of the night, which is high praise considering other bands like A Certain Ratio, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Spiz Energy, The Fall, Echo and the Bunnymen, and Teardrop Explodes, among others. 1980's Futurama 2 was headlined by a recently repaired Siouxsie and the Banshees, featuring former magazine guitarist John McGill and Punk's most eligible drummer Budgie, both of whom replaced the previous guitarist and drummer, who abruptly left the band the night before a tour. Saturday also featured U2, Altered Images, Soft Cell, Modern English, and Clock TVA. The second night was headlined by Gary Glitter and featured Psychedelic Furs, Not Sensibles, Gerudy Column, Desperate Bicycles, and the Frantic Elevators, whose frontman Mick Hucknall later founded Simply Red. Futurama 3, which lost its home turf, was moved to Bingley Hall in Stafford, with performances by Bauhaus, Theatre of Hate, Sisters of Mercy, and UKDK. The 1981 event is often cited as the birth of goth. Other bands playing that weekend were Flock of Seagulls, Simple Minds, Bow Wow Wow, Gang of Four, and Virgin Prudence. Futurama 4 moved to a North Wales hockey arena and featured headliners New Order on Saturday and The Damned on Sunday. The 1982 event marked a transition from underground to MTV-style pop. Among the acts featured were post-Wayne Hussey Dead or Alive, inching their way towards danceable synth-pop. Also there was Sex Gang Children, a band name that was tossed around like a hot potato by what became Bow Wow Wow, and then by Culture Club, before landing with Andreas McElligott, who later rechristened himself Andy Sex Gang. Rounding out the bill was Dance Society, The Membranes, Southern Death Cult, Gene Loves Jezebel, and Nico of Velvet Underground fame. 1983's Futurama 5 was a homecoming for promoter John Keenan as the event returned to Leeds. Imagine, it's 1983 and you're into the underground scene. Who would you want to headline the festival that in the past had PIL, the Banshees, the Damned, and Bauhaus? How about the Bay City Rollers? No, really. At this time, the Rollers were washed up, and their name at the top of the bill caused the Smiths to bail at the last minute. Towards the bottom of the ticket was Billy Bragg, playing his first gig of this magnitude. In Bragg's memoir, he recalls an NME review which says the, quote, solo electronic guitarist tears asunder the guffy gray clouds of doom and despondency with low-slung, highly strung, screaming riff-backed talks of lost love, manic wimp whinery, and political mistrust. This final significant sequel to the Futuramas also had Howard Devoto, Comsat Angels, Mekons, New Model Army, action-packed Poison Girls, The Three Johns, Jane County, and punk poet John Cooper Clarke. There wouldn't be another Futurama Festival until a 3-night event in 1989 held at Bradford University, with few notable acts. Each of the 3 nights was themed. September 29th was Glam and Slam with headliners Sweet. September 30th was Hard and Soft with headliners The Men They Couldn't Hang. And October 1st was Indie Pop and Scally Rock with The Fall. On his Facebook page, promoter John Keenan says he thought he had left the Futurama festivals far behind him until it was announced that the site of the original event was to be torn down, and the Yorkshire Evening Post asked readers what would make an appropriate farewell event. And so, with about 6 weeks to plan, Keenan slapped together Futurama 6. And there you have the history of the Futurama Fests. Thanks for staying awake to the end. I know we disappeared for a bit, but what can I say? Life happens. We're back now, and that's all that matters. Come back in October when we celebrate Halloween by looking at, what else? Horror punk. For more tales of punk rock of old, check out tiprh.start.page. And also, don't forget to check out the other exciting content here on the Sweet Jimmy Network. For this month in punk rock history, I'm Brendan McCabe.